A surprising number of people want to invest, make a plan, but still never feel ready to begin. It's not because they're careless with money, not because they're ignoring their future, and often not because they're unwilling to learn. In many cases, beginners wait for a reason that sounds responsible. They want to understand enough before they begin. They want to avoid mistakes. They want to choose correctly. They want to feel ready. And often, what's really holding them back is fear. Unfortunately, that careful thinking leads to something they never intended: years of waiting. Again and again, people delay so long they realize the hardest part was never investing itself. It was simply getting started. Hi everyone, welcome back to Finance with Lisa Taylor. Before we begin, I want to be clear that I am not a financial advisor, and nothing on this channel should be taken as personal financial advice. Everything shared here is for general educational and informational purposes only. All investing involves risk, including the possible loss of money, and every person's financial situation is different. Before making financial decisions, always do your own research and consider speaking with a qualified financial professional who understands your personal circumstances. Today I want to talk about why many beginners delay investing longer than they should. For many people, it doesn't come from lack of interest. It comes from wanting to make the right decision. A lot of beginners spend a long time preparing before they invest. They feel the need to understand everything before starting. They read articles, they compare accounts, they watch videos, they listen to experts. They tell themselves they'll begin when they feel more certain. But while they gather more information, something very important keeps moving: time. And in investing, time matters more than many beginners realize. Many people assume successful investors do well because they always choose the perfect investment. But long-term investing usually depends more on how early someone begins and how consistently they continue. That means someone who starts imperfectly may still end up ahead of someone who waited years trying to feel fully prepared. And this is where many beginners get stuck. They ask themselves, what if I choose the wrong investment? What if the market drops right after I start? What if I make a mistake that could have been avoided? These are sensible questions. But those questions often create a hidden belief that there is a perfect time coming, a time when investing will suddenly feel obvious, safe, and easy. The truth is, that moment rarely arrives. Even experienced investors do not have complete certainty. Markets move, predictions change, experts disagree. There is always uncertainty. And this is where many people quietly lose years without noticing it, because every year of delay feels temporary while it is happening. But later, those years matter. Another reason many beginners delay is because they understand one kind of risk very well: the risk of losing money. But many underestimate another risk, the risk of losing time. Someone who waits 5 years may need to contribute much more later just to catch up. That is why waiting often costs more than people expect. Starting doesn't mean making huge decisions immediately. It doesn't mean you need a large amount of money. And it does not mean every decision must be perfect. Often, the hardest part is accepting that you don't need full confidence before taking a reasonable first step. Because confidence usually comes after people begin. Action is often what creates confidence. So if you have delayed investing because you wanted to be careful, that caution is understandable. But caution becomes expensive when it turns into long periods of inaction. Sometimes the most responsible decision is not waiting until you know everything. It's beginning once you know enough to move forward thoughtfully. And perhaps the hardest truth is this: the market does not pause while people try to feel ready. It simply keeps moving, and time only begins helping once you start. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. What has delayed you most? Fear of mistakes, uncertainty, or simply not knowing where to begin? A lot more people struggle with this than they admit. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time.